Well, it's day 3 here at the World Retail Congress. The Congress this morning hasn't started yet. A number of the speakers are just doing some pre-speaker rehearsals. It's been a fascinating couple of days. This is the last day of the Congress. The Congress here in Madrid, where all the global retailers assemble in order to understand, debate and talk about the key issues that are facing retailing today. And there's never been as much debate as to where retailing is going, the good, bad and maybe some of the ugly. Well, we've been here throughout the Congress and we've got an amazing array of interviews with senior retail leaders to come in the next 60 minutes. Thank you very much indeed for watching. My name's David Roth from WPP. Let's see what happened at the Congress today. Well, it's day 3 at the World Retail Congress. Congress is about to end and we're here again with Ian McGarrigle, the founder and chairman of the World Retail Congress. Ian, give us an overview of today's events.
It's been a packed day, and it's great. The audience, the auditorium was full, all day. I'm not surprised because actually we had a wide variety, but all really lively and dynamic sessions. So we started off the day with Google and Facebook, which, as always, is fascinating. Sort of gives you, but also slightly controversial because both those businesses, the whole issues around data, and they didn't shy away from talking about those issues. But more importantly, they also talked about how they see the future, what they're doing, how they're working with retailers, how they can help the whole retail shopping process. So that was fascinating. And then we've had a day really with some quite iconic brands, iconic retailers that I think was really interesting. I think we talked about it yesterday. It's, I think, compared to previous years, what we've seen this year with this year's program is some really big retailers who are going through that transformation process but willing to share it. And I think we saw that Avery Baker from Tommy Hilfiger this morning was a great high energy presentation, but incredibly honest. She said 3 years ago they faced up to what they saw as the warning signs that the brand was in trouble.
Just in terms of the speed within which they acted, and as you say, she said
lots to take
results
from
it seems
that,
like it's coming through.
For me, I think
so it can be done. It can be done quickly.
Yeah, that's right. I think that for me is a key takeaway that ran throughout all 3 days. Really, it's everyone now knows what needs to be done, but I think seems to be a willingness to embrace the kind of the tools to do it, the technologies, but also hanging on to the core of retail. But that's it. The pace of change being it is, you can't hang around to do this stuff. And I think you're right. Avery's message that what they had to do, but they resolved what they were going to do, and they really went for it. And we've heard that sort of time again. We've just sort of concluded the Congress with Christopher de la Puente, the CEO of Sephora, and everyone sees Sephora as an amazing brand, and it's shortlisted for Retailer of the Year, quite rightly so, and it's seen as a almost digital-led business now. But you forget that it's a 30-plus-year-old business, and it's had its moments over those years. But there's another example of a business that's seen its international potential and really gone for it. As Chris said, it sort of tripled in a very short period of time and grew more than double the number of countries, and he sees it as just the beginning, but also it's seizing those digital opportunities. And I think, that for me, I think today summed up a lot of the messages around the whole Congress, really.
Well, tonight is the results of the retail awards. Be interested to see who picks up the Retailer of the Year and the various different subcategories within all of that.
Yeah.
Last night we had the Women of the Year. You went to that.
Yep. I stood at the back because it was for women only, but but it was a great meeting.
I understand it was a really interesting evening.
Yeah.
And of course the award winner. We've got an interview with her coming up shortly.
Yes, yeah. So can I reveal?
I think yes. Please do reveal.
Laura Alba, the CEO and president of Williams Sonoma, who has done she was recognised for what she's clearly done in the business, but I think it's her passion, you know, as a contributing to the industry, and for her, of course, she raised the issue of the role of women in the business, and she's very proud of what she's done. But interestingly, she made the very valid point that she chooses people on merit, and but she keeps, you know, she encourages everyone, and everyone has to be judged on their performance. But I think over 50% of her board are women, and again, she got a round of applause for that when she mentioned that this morning. But yes, so Laura is the second recipient of the Woman Year. We launched the award last year, and it's sort of already gathering in, I think, importance and popularity. I think it's very, very well received.
Well, we also launched and revealed our Brand Stories book, which is Brand Stories from Brand Champions, where we have looked at brands that are brand builders and brand champions see as having a great emotional attachment to them. Of course, it can't be the brand that they're working on. And there's some fascinating, really interesting stories in there, and indeed a brand story from you. Which was the brand that you chose, Ian?
Well, I chose the BBC because the whole process made me think, you know, really long and hard about, and I think that's the key sort of objective of the book, really, is to talk about what a brand means and the essence of them. And I in my contribution, I do mention some retail brands that I like and what they mean to me. But I say, yeah, my background is in the media. I was a journalist many moons ago, and can't kick the habit of being a news junkie and just wanting to engage with what's going on at all levels, not just politics and business. But I just felt the BBC as a brand, I think, so for me, brands have to keep evolving, have to stay relevant to you and reach you wherever you want to engage with them. And I kind of thought, well, that the BBC starts to tick all those boxes for me. There is an emotional connection with it. You kind of turn to it instinctively for that authority. You can rail against it when you disagree with what they're saying and how they're saying it, so that's good. You feel engaged, but you still feel that you could want to come back to it. But I think the way that they've, and I think the parallels, so I think there's a connection. I see parallels for retail in the way that they've embraced all channels, pioneered it in many ways, which you wouldn't have thought for an institution, which it is. And you know, it receives overly too much criticism from my, you know, in my view, and I think it deserves defending as an institution. But as a brand, I think it's globally respected and loved, dare I say, around the world. So that was my brand story. So. You
can read Ian's brand stories and lots of others in the book, and we'll give you a URL at the end of the programme in order to get more information about that. Just before we go, 2019 World Retail Congress, dates in place?
Yeah, it's in Amsterdam in May next year. Slightly later because of just getting all the calendars to line up. But never been to Amsterdam before. We've been talking to people about it, and their eyes light up at the idea of Amsterdam. And so we're already looking forward to it.
Excellent. Well, we look forward to seeing you there. Ian McGarrigle, the founder and chairman of the World Retail Congress. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks very much indeed for joining us. You run one of the biggest retailers on the planet. What keeps you awake at night?
What keeps me awake at night is how can we become faster? I think we have changed a lot. By the way, we used to be way bigger. We have refocused from a conglomerate into a totally dedicated B2B company.
I think that's the way of the city at the moment, isn't it? Focus.
Yeah, for us it has been extremely important because the change agenda in every business we were running was so loaded that the conglomerate was not serving the purpose. And today we make progress. But to your point, what keeps me busy, I would not say at night because I sleep well, but when I wake up is how can we be faster? What can we do on top of that? How can we be more radical in what we do?
But retail's always been fast. What is it now that makes that pace of speed more important?
I think that the paradigms have completely shifted. I mean, the principle of a retailer being strong, dominant, knowing it all, having all the info, all the data, and the consumer being kind of blessed coming to the store and seeing this magnificent assortment and all of this, that has completely changed. The customer knows it all. I think the big change of digitalization is not just e-commerce and social media, it is the power shift The power is with the people who buy. And that was not the case 15 years ago.
And what impact does that have within the organisation then?
Within the organization, you need to then live up to it and say, yeah, that's the truth. Those are the facts. So we need to adjust ourselves in how we serve you better every day and make it visible to you every day so that you start to see that we are creating more value to you, we become more relevant, and ideally you become a promoter of us. That's why we are measuring the Net Promoter Score.
In a world where the consumer has ultimate choice, I mean, they used to come to large hypermarkets to get ultimate choice. Now they can have ultimate choice from their mobile phone. What is the role of the big store now?
Well, we have a hypermarket business in Germany, which is the retail business we still have. And to cut it short, it's the experience. It is the human touch, it's the soul. The product availability itself is a value and it needs to be in top quality, but that alone is not enough. Customers who appreciate diversity and are exploring the world of food and taste, and they want to understand new spices, new vegetables, new wine, new cheese, they say, I love this, I really love it, but somebody needs to help me, please. And that's new.
In a world where algorithms, technology seems to be taking over, is there a danger that retailing loses the DNA of what it's all about?
I think that the DNA of it, the way I describe it, which is fully customer-centric and passionate about the interaction and the relationship, I think that can only be done to the best level with data, because data is the one that gives us most insight how to be more relevant towards the customer. I have a personal expectation, which is a large part of stuff, yes, will be purely technical, but when it comes to food, when it comes to joy, when it comes to quality of life, I think the physical experience, the human touch is what matters the most, and that will not go away. We're human beings. We love to have interaction.
In the, I suppose, the many discussions you must have had in terms of slimming down the group, of splitting it off, brands, which brand goes here, which brand goes there. How important is the brand now in today's business?
It's very important. I truly believe it's very important because in so fast times as today, customers need to have a connotation. When they hear the brand and they hear a new offer, they say, yeah, I know them. And yes, this is consistent to what I heard before. And we have a strong brand equity with the heritage we have, which is built on food quality, the B2B side of it, and being a trusted partner. I think now that we're adding service, innovation, delivery, digital, I think the word of mouth on Metro is changing. And that is really super important, because when we come to a non-buying individual and they hear the word Metro, there needs to happen something, not only here, but also in the heart.
Yeah, and emotional as well as a physical response. Olaf,
absolutely.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us. It was an
Thank you.
absolute pleasure.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Well, I'm now with Laura Alba, who is the President and the CEO of Williams-Sonoma. Laura, thank you very much indeed for joining us. First of all, a massive congratulations last night on your award.
Thank you.
It's an outstanding achievement, so well done. Laura, many people, if they read the newspapers, think that retail is on its last legs and just all it needs is one last push and it's going to be off the cliff. You run a very, very successful business with huge amounts of customers coming into the stores. What's your reflection on when people say retail is terminally ill?
Well, I ask them, when's the last time you went shopping, right? And whether it's buying, cosmetics or clothing or music, people are buying things all the time. In fact, 26% of customers shop every single day. And so when you remind people about their own habits, you remind them that retail is very alive and well. And I think that there's a lot of the same foundational pillars that are very relevant today, but at the same time there's things that are changing about how people want to shop in retail. And at Williams-Sonoma we're very lucky because we've always had a large direct business. So we have over 53% online, and we have our fabulous stores as experience, and we have our catalogs as as an immersive editorial. And so I think that kind of combination is inspiring to customers who are looking for ideas on how to decorate their homes or how to dress themselves.
Now, you talk about inspiration. I think maybe the retail industry over the last few few years, and I say few years, probably 10 years, has spent not enough time on the inspiration side of the business, more time on the supply chain side of the business and the efficiency side of the business. What are you doing at Williams-Sonoma to really inspire the customer?
We're hiring people who are passionate about their industry. We have people that work for us who are chefs, who are interior designers, who just love the business that they're in. And I think when you love the business that you're in, you create inspiration. You know, other people call it marketing. We're so happy to help you decorate your home. We'd love to teach you how to sous vide, for example. Come into our stores and let's have some of the best coffee, the perfect cup of coffee. We're in a great business. You know, it's very tactile, and who doesn't like to eat?
Certainly. I put myself in that category. The home is the most emotive part of human instincts. You know, I mean, the concept of nurturing, the concept of looking after your family and doing the best for them. How does Williams-Sonoma sort of mix that amazing sort of emotional territory with creating that sort of bond with their customers?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big deal. We see so many customers come back. We have our life stage business from our Pottery Barn kids nursery, all the way through their, the childhood to teenage years, and nothing is more amazing than watching a child come into a room that's been redone for them. I mean, just squeals of joy, and reminds me why we do what we do.
And how do you imbue that sort of feeling to all your associates?
Well, as I said, I mean, the associates get to be a part of it. We do a large portion of our business in people's homes. So we do what's called in-home. We have a cross-brand group called Design Crew. And if you come in and let's say you're looking to redo your living room, I might say, well, let me come to your house and let's see that in person. Next thing you know, not only are we doing your living room, we're doing everything in your house, because you see the benefit of the service. And so then I create a relationship with you, and that can go on for a long time as the family develops. And so it's very real. It's an authentic business we're very lucky to be in.
Now, you've made a really interesting acquisition in the digital, what might I call it, virtual space, the technology area. I think it's right in saying it's your first big sort of digital investment.
It is.
3D technology. Tell us why you made it and what benefits that's going to bring to customers.
Yeah, I'd say that it's digital imaging, 3D imaging allows you to better imagine something, and it's a perfect application for the business that we're in, because decorating your house is hard. It's dimensional, it's expensive, it's considered, and so you may think that you want coastal decor, and very easily we could build your room or actually have a photograph of your room, add our product in, and show you different looks. So we could say, here's what you would imagine the coastal look to look like, but let's show you it in all neutrals. And very quickly we can go back and forth. We're actually putting together a few different experiences to help our customers, not just with the designer, themselves be able to imagine the products in their home.
And I think customers find that mix of understanding colour, understanding tones, understanding styles, and actually visualising what the end impact of the combination of those things is all about. How is this technology actually going to make the customer feel actually now much more comfortable, or be prepared to be maybe braver than they might be?
So for example, we could take this chair, create the digital image of this chair. We have then that, and it can be spun and it can be moved into other environments. And that's happening right now on our website. So actually you will go on and you'll think it looks like a photograph, but it's actually a 3D asset, which is so much more flexible. So we're in the process of getting all of the assets of all of our brands in. We also are serving the broader industry, and we serve many of our competitors as well, which is interesting. And we do that because we believe that this is the next really big breakout in technology to decorate your home, and we want to be the leader in that technology.
There's so many things that you can invest in, that new shiny technologies. How do you, as the leader of the company, prioritize where the effort should go? The financial resource, the associates' time, management time.
I would say carefully, but also intuitively. And really just listening to our customers all the time about what's important to them, and living the experience of being in our stores and decorating homes and using our products and seeing where there's friction. We also measure across all of our touch points how the customer feels about us, and so we can see where we're good and where we need to make improvements.
How important is the brand to you?
Very. We have great brands. We're so lucky. You know, it's been wonderful to be here and hear how many people have, all day, everyone just says, when are you bringing Pottery Barn? Which is wonderful. We have West Elm in the UK, and we're doing well, and we're growing, and we have our online business, and we have 3 stores now, but we haven't brought any of our other brands yet. It's just a wonderful opportunity.
So what does the future look like? You know, if you, in your president's, because all presidents have this, you know, very accurate crystal ball of the future. What does that look like?
I think we really have an opportunity around the globe to help people decorate their homes in a way that is affordable, high quality, with great style, and to teach them about home decorating, to teach them about cooking and how to live a healthier life. And you know, I think it's one of the greatest joys is being with your friends and family in a home, as you said first, the emotive experience. And at the same time as we build this wonderful business, we have an opportunity to also improve the communities where we do business. So we've been very conscious about what do we give back as we are, you know, serving you in your homes and your families. How do we then, in that community, do things, whether it's local products or you know, working with the community, whether it's St. Jude in America or No Kid Hungry, or just sustainability, to really live our mission, which is to enhance people's lives at home.
What's always struck me about all of your formats is the product. Mm-hmm. Now, it strikes you that there is somebody, your merchandisers in all the brands, who clearly love product. How do you source really interesting, innovative, new products that when you look at them you think, wow, I want that?
The thing that's maybe not obvious, that's different about us, is we actually design 95% of it ourselves. So we have very large teams in each of the brands. They're distinct teams, and they are artists. You know, they're furniture makers, and they put the product together, and then we send it to our vendor partners, and we sampling process, and we have our own agent structure, so we're going directly to the vendors, which takes out, you know, any additional layers. So we have very strong relationships with our vendor partners.
And to what extent also are you using your associates as people who try products out, who, you know, see things interesting, bring them back to the central organisation to keep that innovation cycle going? Yeah,
I mean, if we're not in the stores, we're talking to them and getting the feedback about what they love and maybe what they don't love. And we try to be as absolutely flexible and responsive as we can be to them.
Well, as a Brit, I can't wait for some of the formats to arrive in the UK.
Thank you for that.
It will save a lot of very, very heavy suitcases from New York to London. Thank you so much, Dee.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
And once again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, I know you're now asking yourselves, what was the question of the day? Well, we went to the floor of the Congress during the course of today to ask our question of the day, which was, over the course of the next 10 or so years, what type of retailer will be most successful?
For me, as a retailer that thinks beyond just retail, so it's not just goods and products, it's services, and that retailer that is, I would say, consumer obsessed. So you cannot assume that you know things about your consumer unless you really know them, and unless everybody in the organization is consumer focused.
So I think the next 10 to 15 years, the kind of retailer that will thrive are really those who are very focused, sharp on their customers, customer first. So that could be Amazon or whoever managed to do that better than they do it today.
I think the rise of the digital age and artificial intelligence and all the other things that are threatening us will reveal what we really want from retail spaces, and we'll see an increase in expert, genuine, generous hospitality. So the stores that will do well are those that actually make you feel welcome. That sounds an obvious thing, but consider the stores now. If you go and walk around town and check them out, how many actually make you feel genuinely welcome? Those are the ones that succeed.
It's a bit more of a fast follower. I think this conference has all been about desperately looking for the future. Equally, a lot of legacy brands still succeed. So I think it's, as ever, it's going to be the people that understand. It's going to be a combination of AI, of VR, of robot algorithms, and also a combination of good old-fashioned product differentiation and wonderful store environments. So as often we talk just about the future of these conferences, it's going to be all about looking back and looking forward.
Well, I'm now joined by Jaume Miquel, who is the CEO of Tendam. At the opening of the World Retail Congress, you addressed everybody in the presence of the Prime Minister of Spain. You talked about the importance of innovation and change in retail today. Tell us a little bit about why.
I think that's the question. I think why. I don't like the word transformation, because transformation is where you are having one starting point and when you have a point that ends, and like the Transformers from Lego. And I don't think this is the case. I think we are basically in a continuous change, continuous. And this means that there is certain rules that they have become new. Okay? New meaning that, 5-6 years ago, the pure players on digital, they were saying that brick and mortar will die. Okay? And now we are seeing that those players, they are buying chains.
Yes, there's a nice irony in that, isn't there?
Well, that's this comes to another point, but then and I will come back later. And then you have another thing, which is basically people that we are the traditionals, that we are starting to have very good ratios, also in terms of funnel optimization and in terms of profitability on the digital side. So things are starting to be mixed, and you see things like, business like the big hypermarkets in the past, that they are starting to have, convenience commodity stores in neighborhoods. So I would think everything is mixed. What to me remains as an axioma, if you want, it's the importance of access to consumer. Maybe in the past it was done in a way, now it's starting to be done in a different way, but at the end of the day, how can we access to the consumer more quicker, more efficient? So that's one element. The second one that it's remaining, it's which is your role within the market? What do you bring to the party? Which is your positioning? Why do you need to buy? So the positioning, and
is that getting more important now to actually really get much tighter in terms of what is your role, what's your value to the customer, where are you in their lives? I think honestly, this is number one thing. If you are bringing nothing to the party, there's too many people already. So I think that the positioning, and if we're talking about fashion, I think there is opportunities to really have a niche that it's strong and wide enough. In our case, and everyone has to decide where, and this has to be related also to your business model and have credibility, because the client is so smart, and it smells so easy when you are lying or trying to lie. So you have to be, you have to be truth with yourself. In our case, we understand that the fashion world it has like 5 blocks. One block it's luxury, the second one it's affordable luxury, the third one it's premium, the fourth one is fast fashion, and the fifth it's value. Okay, and we believe that there is a big opportunity within the premium side, because at the end of the day, you take a woman's dress. Woman's dress average selling price in affordable luxury, it's between 200 to 150 euros, and in the case of fast fashion, and it's on the range of 25 to 45. In between those 2 blocks, it's a big amount. And I think one of the beauties of the group is that there is not many players that they are vertical, that they are multi-brand, and that they are international, that they are playing on that segment. And we believe this could be one of the growing segments in the coming years. And is that getting more important now to actually really get much tighter in terms of what is your role, what's your value to the customer, where are you in their lives? I think honestly, this is number one thing. If you are bringing nothing to the party, there's too many people already. So I think that the positioning, and if we're talking about fashion, I think there is opportunities to really have a niche that it's strong and wide enough. In our case, and everyone has to decide where, and Some people have said that fashion, in a sense, is all about your ability to pick the right colour, get it in the stores at the right time,
Yeah.
and you're as good as the last season.
Yeah.
There's more to it than that. I mean, what role does the brand actually play?
Yeah. I think this is a way to simplify too much. Probably it's like simplifying that that to have a long and healthy marriage is just having passion. No, probably there is other things on that.
Now you tell me.
No, I think it's other things on that. I think positioning is first. That's one. Positioning in the way that where do I want to be? Why customer will choose myself? In which categories do I want to become a reference? I think those are key questions. Okay, which competitor do I want to beat in every category? That's an important question. So I think that's purely strategic about that. Okay, then you have to be color right, and you have to be fashion right to what your consumer wants, because not all the consumers are the same. There's consumers that they are more fashion victims. There are other consumers that they are more conservative, and you have to choose exactly where you want to play, and trying to be loyal to your customer. And that's so. I think, fortunately, the market is big. Fortunately, consumers are different, and then just you need to make decisions about where do you want to be, and with those, you have to be the ones that are able to serve better than the rest. And then you have to have process to decrease volatility, and you need to have a KPI criteria. So, I mean, fashion, it's fashion business, and from that you need art, but you need also one part of strategy, another part about efficiency in operations. Okay? So this is not just arty world.
And the role of the brand in all of this?
I think the brand takes a central role in that, because at the end of the day, it's the point of engagement with customers, and it's the point where you have loyalty that has an impact not for one season or 2 seasons. The importance of brand values and emotional engagements allows you to have a customer even if during one season you have been not right with the color.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yes.
And that's a point that decreases volatility and increases the value of the company. Looking forward.
Now you're at the top of a massive group. You have lots of calls on your time, on the capital that you have in the business, the priorities. How do you, as the leader, define the priorities?
I think one thing that I'm lucky, if you want, is that we have a management team that is fully aligned with also my view about the role of the brand, the role of the company. We have near renewed the executive committee with people that it's senior. And then if you hire people senior, you have 2 options. I mean, one which is wrong option, trying to change mind of a senior guy, no way, or trying to find people that shares your point of view about how to do business, how to serve the client, how to build brands. And I think I think I have the luxury to have one management team that is fully aligned, same as per the board, and this helps a lot. From that, I think we have been trying to listen the market a lot, trying to understand what are the challenges of the industry, and from that, building the strategy. And I think we have done that in harmony, from board, executive team, and the rest of the company. And this has been probably number 1 reason to be able to go fast executing strategies.
There's a lot of talk at the Congress, outside of the Congress, in the press, about the relationship between physical and virtual.
Yeah.
What's your perspective now? Operating in both.
I think that basically the barriers, the limits, are starting to be eliminated. At the end of the day, I think we need to think on consumer. What consumer wants is a product. What consumer wants is a product as soon as possible. Okay? And then what we need to think is how can we serve him in a way that is efficient. And if you think that way, the convergency, I mean, comes along. Okay? So I think we need to, I mean, think less in silos, and we need to think much more on how can we access better, quicker, and more efficiently.
And finally, to sum up, do you think the future of retail is good, or the future of retail? Will you be sleeping well at night tonight?
No, the concept of sleeping, you have plenty of things, and I have 3 kids, and then sleeping gets different. And I have one boy of 4.5, so then the sleep concept is different. But I think the future is fantastic. You know, it's richness. You have certain regions where the demographics, the pyramid of population will get inverse. There is others that will be booming on young generations. This is great. You have a world where the relationship in between physical store and digital will be evolving. So honestly, it's great to have a future where business as usual will not exist anymore. And that's intellectually challenging. And this is also a way to, I mean, to question seriously the position of people. It will be companies that maybe it was fantastic 5 years ago, that today are top, and depending on that, everything, the puzzle will change. And this is great. And this is why I'm passionate on that business, because it's continuously evolving. If not, it will be boring.
Well, on that challenging but very positive note, thank you very much indeed.
Pleasure. Thanks very much, David. Thank you.
Well, we've heard a lot about how the Chinese e-commerce retailers are using technology to really change the way in which the Chinese consumers shop. And here is an example. It comes from Alibaba's Tmall, and this is their magic mirror. It works in a big mirror format, but also you can use it on your mobile as well. And you start by creating your avatar, a picture of yourself, and then having established that, you can then virtually try on any clothes that are in the Tmall Magic Mirror store. Sarah, let's take a look. So once you're happy with that style, what sort of glasses do you like?
So I think I'm going to go for these
Okay, that's
tortoiseshell glasses.
very, very nice, marvelous. Okay, and let's go to
Should you try
body shape.
body shape? So if I'm happy with that,
Okay, let's go straight to the fitting room. Now, what do you fancy?
I think I'm going to go for something hopefully quite funky looking.
Very
I like
nice.
that look.
Okay, and that's a nice look. What about something a bit different?
Okay.
Sports. Let's go for sports.
I'm going to try, I think, this purple top, black pants. Yep.
And
I think that's quite a good look.
I rather quite like the swag. So let's see what we've got in swag. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's pretty warm here today, so maybe I'll go for the shorts. I like that look.
Okay. Well, and from there you can then press a couple of buttons and you can purchase all those items, and it will be delivered within a few hours from Tmall, from Alibaba. Just one of the ways that Chinese retailers are making e-commerce much more accessible and much more useful to the user. Well, I'm now joined by Matt Shea, who is the President and CEO of the National Retail Federation in America. Matt, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
My pleasure.
It's very nice to see you this side of the pond.
Nice to be with you. Happy to be here.
You've got a relationship now with the World Retail Congress and NRF, haven't you?
We do, yeah, and we've always had sort of an informal relationship, even since the inception of the WRC in 2007. A number of our CEOs, members of the board of directors, served on the advisory committee and have been speakers and been honorees. So we had a relationship that has existed for many years, and last year we thought the time was right to really formalize that partnership, so we announced at the WRC Asia in Hong Kong last October that we were going to elevate this to a true formal partnership with cross-promotion and branding and sharing content and ideas. And I think we certainly feel like we've benefited from the relationship over the years, and I think that Ian and the WRC team would say the same thing. And so when we come, we bring a delegation, and Ian does the same, and it feels very much like a close friendship and the special relationship that exists.
Exactly.
Yeah, indeed.
Well, along with that special relationship that lasts.
Yes.
I mean, we're going to wring you dry. Now we've got you over here, we're going to wring you dry in terms of InSuch, because you really do sit at an amazing vantage point to have a fantastic overview on American retail in particular, but global retailing as well. We're used to hearing once a year the State of the Union, I think it is, address from the President of the United States. How would you articulate the State of the Union in America for American retailing?
I would say that the state of retail is very strong and very healthy and undergoing a rapid period of transformation. And I think that it's a period of time in which there are great opportunities for retailers, and we see barriers to entry being lowered. We see the bar in terms of customer expectation being raised. And so you see very creative approaches to customer engagement, the way in which the supply chain, logistics, sourcing, this whole range of activities in which retailers are engaged to access the market and to reach their consumers. So it's a very exciting time. I think there are some misperceptions about the overall health of retail. And so it's our job to constantly be out there and helping people understand the reality that retail is strong and growing, but it's changing and transforming at the same time.
American retailing is growing at a faster rate than American GDP?
Indeed, yes. Last year, 2017, the retail industry grew at more than 4%. Holiday season between our Thanksgiving and Christmas end of the year holidays grew 4.5%. So the best we'd seen in more than a decade, almost 20 years. So the growth has been very, very strong, but it doesn't always look the way it looked historically. And so people are sort of confused by that because they see changes, they see the overbuilding in the U.S., too many stores, too much real estate, some downsizing on real estate, some real growth in online. And it's taking people a while to process how this all works together. And it's, in our view, it's part of this transformational journey that the retail industry has been on for hundreds of years, but it's happening with such a pace and velocity and with a level of transparency right before our eyes that people are sort of still trying to process what's going on.
Now the mood at the National Retail Federation conference in January in New York was really good.
It was noticeably
very upbeat.
Noticeably upbeat, I think, in January of 18 relative to January of 17 a year ago. For a couple of reasons, I think. One was we had this fabulous fourth quarter in the U.S. and overall strong sales. The macroeconomics in the U.S. are very strong. Unemployment rate is at 20-year, almost 25-year lows. The stock market, in spite of its gyrations, has generally been trending in the right direction. Interest rates still historically low. So the overall macro conditions in the U.S. were very good. And then at the end of the year, the U.S. Congress passed an overhaul of the tax code.
And is that reform in the tax code and the tax rebates, or how it works in America, is that going to fuel a
Yes.
retail spend?
Yes, absolutely. Both in two ways, both for the retailers who had their corporate rates reduced from 35% down to 21%. We were the highest of the industrialized OECD countries in the world at 35%. So it at once makes retailers much more competitive relative to the global market and relative to other businesses in the U.S. And it was an absolute tax cut for individuals, for the middle class, the working class. So retailers have more capital to invest in their business, or in pricing, in innovation, in warehousing, supply chain, wherever they innovate. And consumers actually have more money in their wallets, bigger paychecks. So those two factors, we think, have the retail industry positioned and poised for continued growth in 2018.
How does that sort of juxtapose with what we hear in the press about huge amounts of store closures, and in particular the impact that I suppose maybe second or third tier malls are having in terms of occupancy rates?
Yeah, I think, David, there are a couple ways to look at that. One is just, the U.S. is overbuilt. There's too much real estate in the U.S. The average square footage per citizen in the U.S. is 25 square feet to one. In other parts of the world, it's 15 or 12. In Europe and Germany and the UK, it's 3 or 4 or 5 square. So we have far more selling space than we need. You combine that with the rapid transformation in the way in which consumers engage with retailers, and they're certainly doing more online than they used to do. More than 91% of sales in the U.S. in retail businesses still occur in stores. So that piece is growing.
And that's the thing I think
people miss that.
You missed that, actually.
Yeah, people say, wow, it must be 50 or 60%. Yeah. I say, no. I taught an MBA class at Georgetown in Washington, D.C. a couple of weeks ago, and I asked the students in the class, smart MBA, mid-career, said, what percentage of retail sales occur in a mall? I said, 30, 40, 50%. No, 10%. What percentage of retail sales occur online? 30, 40, 50%. No, 10%. So the malls and online are out here, and the rest of sales are all in the middle of that bell curve. So I think we know we have more real estate than we need. We know the consumer and the customer journey is changing. We know the retailers are finding ways to succeed, a la the great results we had last holiday season. So I think the danger is that as people try to understand and process that in the US, 7 of the top 10, 21 of the top 25 e-commerce sites, platforms, are operated by bricks and mortar retailers. But people don't think that way. People still think it's bricks and mortar versus online, as opposed to it's all retail. There's an online channel, there's a mobile channel, there's a desktop channel, there's a store channel. They're just channels. And consumers around the world are becoming increasingly agnostic as to the channel. They don't think about, is it a store, is it online, is it on my mobile phone? They think about, it's the retail experience, and it's the product that I want when I want it. And so it's taken a while for the analyst community and for the media to catch up with that, and we're constantly trying to help educate them. But in spite of the old notion that facts are stubborn things, so are analysts and reporters, and sometimes they just don't want to believe the facts.
Now, one of the things that's always intrigued me about retail across the world is the importance that retail has to the economy. I think we found that out in the global recession when consumers stopped spending, and it really did impact in a big way society generally. But retailing has never had the political muscle that other industries have had. Why do you think that is, given how much it contributes to the economy and also how many people it employs?
Yeah, that's a continuing opportunity, I guess, for us in the U.S. In the U.S., the retail industry contributes almost 20% of national GDP, creates jobs for 1 in 4 Americans. That's 42 million jobs across our economy, is a huge contributor to payroll and other taxes, plays enormous roles, outsized roles in communities because it's customer facing. So I think it's a good question. One is that there was I think an historic bias that because these were entry-level jobs in many cases, you could get them if you were a young person in secondary school, if you wanted a part-time job, if you were in upper school, if you were a retiree and you wanted to go back to work. I think part of this fallacy we have to knock down is that these are low-wage jobs, that they don't have career potential, that they are low-tech jobs. The truth is, in our view, and I think the statistics bear this out, jobs in the retail industry are the first best job that you can have because they teach you lifetime skills. They teach you the value of work. They teach you about showing up on time and being punctual. They teach you how to work as part of a team. There are lots of things you learn in a retail job that are then applicable to the other kinds of positions people have later in life. So part of this is just educating people about the nature of the work in the retail industry, not only the scale, which was really a process that we started about 10 years ago, was talking about retail means jobs, helping members of our elected legislature in the Congress and in Washington understand 42 million Americans, 1 in 4, that's a number that is important. You should take that seriously. After that, it was a conversation about the nature of the jobs. What kinds of jobs get created? They get created in supply chain, in design, in digital work, so that they're not all sales jobs. Those are important jobs that create many opportunities, but there are other jobs in retail as well. And then over the nature of the last couple of years, the conversation we've had has been about how we help those people in the workplace prepare for the future. So we've launched a program called Rise Up, which is a certification program. Our foundation has launched this program. It stands for the Retail Industry Skills and Education Program. And Rise Up is out in the marketplace, educating people with all levels of background and education, helping them find a career path in the retail industry. I think those are all parts of the reasons that we have this ongoing opportunity to educate people. And
is it working?
It's a job that's never finished.
Legislators
I think it's
coming to terms with how
it's taking time. It's taking time, but I think people are starting to recognize and appreciate that this is an important discussion, and that they need to take the role of the retail industry, both in terms of job creation and the nature of the jobs, much more seriously than has been done historically. But that's one of the roles that we play at the NRF, is trying to have that conversation with the media and with elected leaders.
Now, your operation is centric in Washington. Must be DC.
Yes.
Must be a very interesting place to be at the moment.
It is.
What are the key issues that are facing retailing today? Clearly in the States, but I think probably those issues are global in the sense that you are grappling with and working with the legislative authorities in order to ensure that there's maybe a level playing field, or some of the issues, the legislation is right for retailing.
Yeah, I think that we think of them in different categories. There are the general business issues, tax reform, for example, that we talked about a minute ago. Tax reform was very, very important to the retail industry because we paid the highest possible rate in the U.S., 35%, where there are other industries that had benefits from the tax code, paid lower rates, were at 8, 10, 12%, maybe paid no taxes at all. So that's an example of an issue that was important to retail, but we were not the only industry group that was involved in that issue. And there'd be other examples of that same sort, whether this year it's infrastructure sorts of spending and investment, whether it's workforce development. Those are things that are certainly important to the retail industry, but there are other industry groups working on those as well. Then there are some that are really unique to the retail industry. So you mentioned the level playing field. So one of these features of the U.S. landscape at the moment is that we have many states that have individual state sales taxes. 45 of the 50 U.S. states require a retailer to collect and then remit to the state a sales tax. Years ago, in the early 1990s, the United States Supreme Court decided that the internet was in its infancy and it would be unfairly disadvantaged if they were required to go through the process of collecting and remitting state sales tax. There were all these young startup companies.
Which was quite actually far thinking then.
Yeah.
When it was small.
Yeah, it was small. And then today we're at this point where you've got global giants in the e-commerce space, the overwhelming majority of whom have the sophistication to collect and remit the tax. And more importantly, the software and the other tools exist to make this very, very simple to do. To track the sale, to assess the value of the tax, to collect and remit it. So that's an example of an issue that we're trying to get changed so that there is a level playing field between legacy bricks and mortar sellers and online players. But it's also an issue that most other industries don't care much about because they're not affected. So that's an issue that we're working on. I mentioned infrastructure. That would be very important to the retail industry if we could make an investment there, whether it's improving our ports, deep water ports to get goods into the country more easily, roads and bridges to transport both those goods to the stores and to the warehouses as well as the customers, the airline infrastructure in the U.S., airports generally. So there are a number of things that we're working on. The truth is, because this is an election year, 2018 for our Congress, we'll shortly run out of sort of legislative days, time to actually get some policy things done. So we'll keep pushing at it, but the calendar makes some of this impractical eventually.
Well, looking into your crystal ball, maybe the next sort of 5 to 10 years, do Do you think the picture's looking positive, rosy in your?
I think the picture's looking very positive and very rosy. And I think because in the U.S., retailers are going to work through the process of balancing out the real estate portfolio, so we'll get that bit sorted out. And you know, I might add that at the same time as the legacy bricks and mortar retailers are deciding they need less real estate, there are examples of many online sellers have decided they need storefronts. Yes. You know, they need distribution points, they need customer access and customer touch points. So I guess the way I look at the retail landscape, and I guess I'll use the soccer pitch as the analogy, that 20 years ago in the late 90s, the bricks and mortar retailers, traditional retailers, were playing the game in one end of the pitch in front of the goal, and the new online players were playing at the other end. And that's really where customers played. And they played in one end or the other. There was not a lot of convergence. And what we've seen now, today, the game is played much nearer the center of the field. It might not be right at midfield, but it's much closer because the bricks and mortar players have gotten much better at digital and online and mobile and e-commerce, and we've seen many of the online players get much more involved in the real estate play. So I think we'll continue to see that. And so the technologies that drive that forward, whether it's voice, whether it's AI, blockchain, robotics, all of the things that assist in that journey for customers and help retailers become more effective playing in the middle of the field, I think that's going to drive investment, capital expenditure, and that will ultimately determine the winners and the losers in the retail industry.
Well, Matt, thank you very much indeed for
My
joining
pleasure.
us. Have a safe trip back to the
Thank
States.
you.
We look forward to seeing you at NRF next year.
Thanks. We hope you'll be back with a big crowd.
Thanks a
you.
lot.
Nice
Bye.
to be with you.
Well, we're now joined by Stefano Piscina, who is the Executive Vice Chairman and the Chief Executive of the Walgreens Boots Alliance. Stefano, thank you very much indeed for joining us. You've just come off the stage of the World Retail Congress. Stefano, I'd just like to start because there's been much debate here at the World Retail Congress about the relationship between physical stores, virtual stores, are there going to be stores at all? You have a business that has lots of stores. How bullish are you about the future of the physical environment?
Well, I am very bullish about the future of the physical environment. Of course, we have to adapt what we are doing now to the needs of the customers. The customers today is a different customers. It has a lot more of understanding of what he wants, and you have to give the customers what he wants, where he wants, when he wants, and all this probably very quickly. And why not at a convenient price? So
the customer wants it all.
So you have to adapt, but retail is about that. If you think of how different the retail of today is from the stores that you were used to seeing in the past, you can imagine that there has been a constant evolution of retail. And I believe that this constant evolution will continue. I don't believe that will be a dramatic revolution. I believe that it will be an accelerated evolution because, of course, things are going faster today, and the digital environment is obliging us to speed up, but it gives also us a lot of instruments that we didn't have in the past. In our case, we are investing on that, and of course we have, as soon as we merged with Walgreens 3 years ago, we started to collect the data. We didn't have data, and now we have a substantial amount of data.
How are you managing all that data? Because the data's being thrown off all those stores.
Massive data. We have practically between Walgreens and Boots, we have 100 million of fidelity cards. We have, of course, quite a good online business, so we collect data from the online business, and of course we have people just doing that, and we are able, first of all, with our data, to know, to understand how we have to change the stores. And just in these days we have a test going on in Florida about a new format of stores. We have 17 stores, a new format of stores. We will test it. Maybe it will work, maybe not. Otherwise, we will change again. And this is let's say, the essence of what we have learned from our data. And of course, with our data, we are able to select the categories and to do many other things. So I was saying we will change using external partners, of course, because this is not our main area of expertise. And we will adapt. But at the end of the day, we will always be able to have a human touch with the customers. And as long as the customers want empathy, care, humanity, and as long as we are able to understand that the customer is somewhat different because he understands much more and he has more precise desires, I don't see any reason why we will not be able to continue to be successful. Remember that at the end of the day, we are very close to the families in the countries where we operate. In the US, 85% of the pharmacies are within 5 miles from our stores. In the UK, 90% of the families are within 10 minutes from our stores.
So, in that context, you work in a position with your customers in an amazingly high trust environment. I can't think of any other, apart from a hospital probably, where you demand trust. How important is the brand in making the customer feel that this is a business that they do have trust in?
Very important, very important. The fact that I am talking for us, but I could talk for all of our peers, the fact that we have a brand which has been on the market for more than a century, and we have brands, not a brand, we have many brands that have been on the market for more than a century, and has earned the trust of the customers. Of course, it's important. This doesn't mean that you don't have to continue to earn this trust, because if your customers are not satisfied, of course, they will go somewhere else, and even worse, they will make public their dissatisfaction, because now with Twitter,
very quickly as well,
very quickly,
straight to you.
And so you have to continue to satisfy them and to understand how they are evolving and evolve with them. What I am always telling our people, I have said this for 40 years, you have to be ready to change again, because the change is the essence of retail. But as long as you can do this, you can keep your stores, and you cannot only survive, but also thrive.
Now, talking about thriving, 1.4 billion consumers in China. You've just announced an alliance acquisition. Don't know how it gets phrased. That's coming up for regulatory approval soon. What, apart from a 1.4 billion population, what's the attraction to you of entering the Chinese market? A market where many have gone and not succeeded.
Well, first of all, we have been working in China for 10 years, because we have already 2 joint ventures in China, in Guangzhou Pharma and Nanjing Pharma. And they are 2 big distributors in China, the 4th and the 5th largest distributor in China. And this new partnership that we have with this pharmacy chain, this is the pharmacy chain of Sinopharm, which is the largest distributor and the largest pharmacy chain in China, controlled directly or directly in reality by the Chinese state. And they are happy to have us as a partner, not for sure, not because we are giving the company, not them, the company, some money, because they don't need money, but because they believe, and I hope rightly so, that we have a lot of expertise, and so they wanted to use us to expand their pharmacy chain from the 3.7 or whatever thousand pharmacies that we have now to 10,000 pharmacies in 5 years. So, as you see, there are a lot of people still believing in stores in China, in spite of the really prevalence of the online commerce, and this is particularly true for the drugs, for the medicines. And again, we will try to find the right format or formats, probably a certain number of formats, because China is very big and very diverse. Yes. And we hope that we will be successful in China as we have been successfully in other countries with the retail, as we have been very successful in China with our wholesaling business.
So a great mix between the wholesale and the retail for a very interesting few years ahead of us. Thank you very, very much indeed for joining us. I think what you've achieved is nothing short of sensational over the course of the last few years, especially negotiating alliances with, I think, retailers and companies that people thought were absolutely impossible to do. So many congratulations to you.
Yeah, but you know, we have a fantastic team. And as I am always saying, I am in the driving seat, yes, but I have two co-chief operating officers, Nella Bar and Alex Gurley, who are really the engine of the company.
I'm sure they'll be very glad to hear that.
and so they will. They are driving the company. They are really moving the company, and we have a very good team. And many of these people have been with us for decades.
Do you think that's the secret of success? Great teams, people who've been there for a long time, understand the business, work closely and well together?
Part of the success, of course. We have also people who have just joined. You cannot rely on people who have been there for decades, but it's clear that if you have really a number of people who understand exactly what is the spirit of the company, what is the sense of a partnership, what are the values of the company, which has been the same value since the very beginning of the company, substantially the same value. Of course, this is important because they can really coach and induct all the newcomers, and after the team becomes bigger and bigger, but with the same values and with the same logic and with the same culture.
Fantastic. Well, Stefano Placido, thank you very much indeed, Executive Vice President and Chairman and CEO of the Walgreens Boots Alliance. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Well, I don't know where the time's gone. We're almost at the end of our broadcast from the World Retail Congress here in Madrid. In fact, the World Retail Congress is about to finish in a few minutes' time. I'd like to thank everybody who's helped us in the broadcast for the last 3 days, to our colleagues at Studio Stream, to Igor Torkochev and to Sarah Cousins. If you would like to subscribe to our YouTube channel, this is how you do it. We have many, many more interviews that you haven't seen yet from the World Retail Congress, and we will be putting these on the YouTube channel over the course of the next few weeks. So please subscribe to make sure you get notifications of when the interviews will be up. If you want more details about the brand stories book that we spoke about at the beginning of the programme with Ian McGarrigle, all you need to do is just go to this URL here. Well, on day one of the World Retail Congress, together with the World Retail Congress, we launched the Brand Z WPP Top 75 Most Valuable Global Retail Brands. It's caused quite a stir here at the Congress. Well, let's play out with the WPP Brand Z Top 75 Most Valuable Global Retail Brands for 2018. Hello and a very warm welcome to the Brand Z Top 75 Most Valuable Global Retail Brands for 2018.